Hallo und willkommen. Ich bin Meister Lehnsherr and you're watching Get Germanized, the Norse myth of creation explained. One of the most detailed and marvelous accounts in the world's literature might be the myth of creation according to the Norse, full of hidden meaning, wonderfully entertaining, and beloved by many in modern day society. Today I will give you an overview of this tale, the cosmos and where it came from. An emptiness like no other once inhabited the void that was our universe. The name of this emptiness was UNGAGAP, and nothing but silence and darkness existed inside it. Next to it, the homesteads of elemental fire called MIDGARD and the home of elemental ice, known as NIFLHEIM. Both sides kept expanding their power until they collided in UNGAGAP. The ice of NIFLHEIM melted, and the drops formed themselves into the first godlike giant, YMIR. Pouring from his body out of the sweat, he created more and more giants to roam the land. Soon, a cow named EMBLA emerged from the ever-melting ice. YMIR was able to feed off her milk, and in return the cow survived by licking salt licks in the ice. Licking and licking, she slowly uncovered the first of the ASGARD tribe of gods, BORR. BORR's son BORR was married to BESTLA, the giant Bolthorn's daughter. BORR and BESTLA then produced half-giant, half-god children. They named them Odin, Ve, and Vili. Odin then soon became the chief of the ASGARD gods. The brothers then went on to kill YMIR and created the world from his corpse. His skin and muscles became the soil, while his blood made up the oceans. His brain became the clouds, and his hair vegetation. Finally, his skull was fashioned into the sky, and YMIR's skull was then held up in place by 4 dwarves. Soon after, the gods created the first people, a man and a woman, named ASG and EMBLA, and legend says that they were made up from tree trunks. The gods then built a fence around the humans' home MIDGARD to protect them from the giants. This myth shows us, among other things, that the vacuum cannot support the creation of life. According to Norse mythology, creation can only occur when what came before is destroyed. Basically, when there's life, there will also be death. This is one of the major themes in Norse mythology. Unlike in Christian mythology, the world wasn't made from nothing. YMIR had to be killed first so that the gods could fashion the new world from his body, and in the process create new life as well. In Norse mythology, YMIR can be seen as the spawn of UNGAGAP, so essentially as a representative of chaos. I say chaos since many of YMIR's fellow giants constantly try to tear down the world into the emptiness that is UNGAGAP. And if they succeeded, this would then result in RAGNAROK, the Norse equivalent of the apocalypse. So whenever the Norse people fought, ate, or cleared the land for their new settlements, they thought of these tales, and they found their actions justified, because without death, there is no life. As many of you probably know, according to Genesis, the world and life was created at a very specific time. And after it was done, the world was for the most part left to its own devices. I'm not saying there wasn't any divine intervention in Christian mythology at all, but it was very different from how the Norse described it. Norse mythology shows creation as an ongoing process, constantly shifting and changing, being propelled by all the inhabitants of the 9 worlds. The world came into being through gradual steps, in different stages, and built from what was before. In my opinion, Norse mythology is super interesting, but can be also confusing with all these different names. I mean, similar to Christian mythology, I suppose. In order to clarify this a little bit, let's go through some names. And just putting it out there, I'm not 100% sure that I pronounced every single word correctly, so maybe you guys can correct me in the comments. That would be lovely, actually. Thank you. First up, Muspel. The first world to exist was Muspel, a place of light and heat, where the flames are so hot that those who are not native to the land cannot endure it. SURT sits at Muspel's border, guarding the land with his flaming sword. At the end of the world, at Ragnarok, he will vanquish all the gods and burn the whole world with fire. UNGAGAP and NIFLHEIM. Beyond Muspel, there lays the great void of UNGAGAP, And beyond GINNU, there lays the dark and cold realm of NIFLHEIM. The ice, frost, wind and rain from NIFLHEIM meet the fire, the warmth, the heat of Muspelheim in GINNU. Dwarves. The dwarves are said to have been maggots in Ymir's rotting flesh, and by the decree of the gods they acquired human intelligence and form, but lived in the rock and the mountains. According to Norse mythology, the first two, humans, the first man and the first woman, were created from trees or tree trunks. Odin gave them spirit and life. Vili gave them understanding and the power of movement, and Ve gave them clothing and names. From Ask and Embla have sprung the races of men who then continue to live in Midgard, Asgard. In the middle of the world, the sons of BORR built themselves a stronghold named Asgard, called Troy by later generations. And in Asgard there was a great hall, and from there Odin sat on his throne, watching over the whole world, understanding everything he saw. Thor, the earth, was Odin's daughter and his wife as well. By her he had his first son, Thor. Might and strength were Thor's characteristics, with which he dominated every living creature. BIFRÖST. The gods built a bridge from earth to heaven, called BIFRÖST. Some call it a rainbow, since it looks like one. It is, almost looks like one. It has 3 colors and it is a very sturdy structure, uncomparable to any other. But even though it is strong as it is, when the sons of Muspelheim come and riot upon it, it will break, at least according to Norse mythology. YGGDRASIL. The chief sanctuary of the gods is by the ash tree Yggdrasil. There they hold their daily court. It is also known as the world tree, since it spreads out with its branches across the whole world. It is said that they even reach upon the heavens. So I hope you found this little bit of information interesting. Let me know what you think, if I messed any information up, or if there's additional information that you would like to provide, or that you would like me to cover in a future video. If you want a future video, and if you enjoyed this one, leave a like, subscribe if you haven't yet, consider supporting me on patreon.com/getgermanized, and apart from that, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to get Germanized. Goodbye and auf Wiedersehen.